everyone and welcome back to the channel. For long-time subscribers or viewers of the channel, firstly I apologise for not uploading very many videos towards the end of this previous year, but with 2025 ahead of us I will do my best to try and upload some more videos and create some more content. I've had a lot of really lovely messages from people asking and saying they're missing my content, so I will do my best. But I thought I would start this year with an overview of what my current tank room, gallery room, whatever you want to call it, it's just the dining room, but just how it's looking. And yeah, there is some plans for some rescapes, and of course that'll all be recorded, so if you subscribe or pop back to the channel you will see some new content soon. But let's start with this. This is my Oase Scaperline 90. Now this has been running for just a little over 1 year now. It looks quite a little bit different to how it started. One of the first things being there is now a Heliocharis carpet, whereas previously it was a sand foreground. I've also changed the plants in it 2 or 3 times now, but it's finally at a point where I'm really quite happy with it, and I'm just kind of waiting for it to just fill in more and sort of take on this really sort of final picture perfect form, if you like. I have no plans to rescape this just yet. I am really enjoying it, and it's still got quite a long way to go in terms of where I want it. It's given me, or it has given me, quite a lot of issues as this tank. It's been a tank that I've definitely learnt the most from, and am still learning, and just as I think everything's going well, another problem pops up. But this is a high-tech tank. It runs CO2, it's very hungry for fertiliser, so it gets dosed quite a lot. I've done a lot of videos on maintenance and dosing about this tank, so feel free to watch those. But overall it's getting a lot better. It's in a much better place than it was a few months ago. The plant health's okay. There is still some issues, that being that there is a little bit of BBA. Some hair algae has started to take hold. Now I've recently added a better to this tank, and I've had to up the temperature from what was 22 to about 24-25 degrees. So I do think that might be causing some of the issues, but we have help. There's about 10 clithorn snails in here. This footage makes me extremely uncomfortable. It's fascinating yet really gross at the same time. I don't think I like viewing snails up close in macro format. I think they're definitely best viewed from a distance. But yeah, the little better in here is a new addition. It's not an ideal tank for him, but I just fell in love with him, and I had to have him, so he's in there for now, but he will probably move into his own tank at some point. But this is just a community aquarium. There's lots of tetras and everyone gets on fine. It's actually quite peaceful. The better being the most boisterous, but he mostly leaves everybody alone. He gives chase every now and again, but for the most part he is quite a chill guy, and an extremely stunning show grid from Horizon Aquatics. I think the sort of star piece in this tank is this, oh god, what's it called? The Cryptocrine spiralis tiger. As you can see, it's got the bright red leaves with the green stripe through it, and it's absolutely stunning. I was under the impression that this was quite a hard plant, and whilst it is to sort of get it going, once it takes off and once it's happy, it really is quite an unstoppable plant. It's really taken over in the background, and really filled in. But this here has got to be my favourite view of the tank. This is the bit that I always want to sort of sit and look at and photograph, I think. It has quite a lot of depth to it, but yeah, overall just really enjoying the tank. Next up is my 2 low-tech tanks. This is a 45p and a 45f. Again, we also have 2 betters in there. There was a point this year where I had no betters, and now I'm back to 3, despite swearing that I wouldn't get any more. But yeah, I just love them. So we are back to 3 and back to betters in pretty much all of the tanks. So we'll start with the 45p. This is, I believe, my oldest running tank. It's definitely got to be over 2 years old now. And up until recently, it was looking fantastic, to be honest. I had 0 issues, 0 algae issues. The plant health and everything was insane, and I didn't really do anything special. But it's only just recently that I think some of the plants are starting to show their age a little bit. There is some sort of blackened leaves on some of the Anubias. I'm not sure if that's an age thing, an algae thing, a nutrient deficiency type thing. So I have started dosing it a little bit, but there's nothing too sort of serious in this tank, and honestly I'm really just enjoying it. I did thin out some of the boosts and things a little bit recently because it had kind of lost its shape. This was always meant to be a bit of a triangle composition, and it had kind of lost that, so I pulled out some of the boosts from the right hand side, replanted it back on the left. And yeah, as I say, it's just a really enjoyable tank. I love the fish in it. As I said, recently I did a betta, but up until that point it was just some ember tetras and some kabutai tetras, which I absolutely love together. And the tank next to it, this is also probably about 2 years old. They were scaped not long after each other. So this, again, it's probably starting to show its age a little bit now, and there is a few issues with this tank. So this is actually going to be the first rescape of 2025. It's funny, this was a tank that I didn't love when I first did it, and then after sort of like a few months of it growing in, as mentioned, it's low tech, so things take time, but I really did start to like it. However, recently I've cleaned the filters out on the 345p tanks, and they haven't been done for potentially a year or two, and when I cleaned it out, the flow drastically increased. They were obviously very dirty, and since the flow has increased, it's actually caused quite a bit of BBA in this tank. Now, there's a lot of reasons why people get BBA, but I do think from experience and sort of seeing it firsthand that BBA has a direct correlation to flow. You'll also notice that there's quite an oily surface on this tank, and that's due to bettas. They're quite an oily fish. And then last up is these two tanks. This is a 45p and an ADA 30C. So we'll go with the ADA 30C first. That was recently scaped this year, and I was torn whether or not to do another aquarium or a terrarium. Obviously, having so many tanks and quite a lot of, one big tank, maintenance gets quite tiresome and it's a lot. So I thought I'll do something that doesn't require water changes, and I will do a terrarium. However, I approached it like I would an aquascape, so yeah, I kind of just thought about the rule of thirds and that kind of thing, and sort of scaped it as if I was just building an aquarium. I even used like 90% aquatic plants. There's only some terrestrial moss and some kind of, it's not an asparagus fern, or maybe it is, some kind of houseplant in there, but the rest is like Java ferns, Anubias, Bucephalandra, and aquatic mosses. And I actually really like it. I keep toying whether to fill it with water. I actually can't do that because I did remember that I used some terrarium substrate, so I'd have to scrape that out and then put some aqua soil in and then fill it. But honestly, I'm just really enjoying it as a terrarium. It's really beautiful to look at, and it's really low maintenance. And next up is my second high-tech tank. This does have CO2 on it. This is, I think, my favourite scape that I have at the minute. It's really wild and overgrown. It's very jungly. The moss goes crazy. The grasses and the Blixa japonicas all gone crazy, but I actually really love it. Now this tank, again, I cleaned the filter out, and there is some BBA in this tank, but it is sort of like dying down. They're all getting better. It's just a case of maintenance and just trying to find the best place to sort of put the outflow pipes. But the reason that I love this tank is that I've kept it a species only tank pretty much. There is some pygmy cories in here, but the main fish are these celestial pearl danios or galaxy rasporas, whatever name they go by, and I just absolutely love how they interact with the scape, how they interact with each other. It's the tank that I find myself sitting in front of the most, and it's not the most perfect tank by any means, but just the fish in it and the shrimp and everything, they just really bring it to life. And I just, sometimes you just can kind of tell that the fish are just really happy in their environment, and I genuinely think these guys are. Having kept them before in the past and not having much luck with them, or finding that they hide quite a lot and they can be quite a scared fish, they really aren't in this tank. They're always out in the foreground and sparring and playing and chasing and stuff, and they don't get scared when I come up with a camera or sit and watch them. So yeah, I'm really happy with this tank. So whilst they're happy, I don't really have any plans to change it. It'll just be sort of maybe tidying it up when it gets a little bit too messy. But yeah, overall, I think this is definitely one of my favourite tanks, and maybe I'm biased, but these are also one of my favourite fish, if not my favourite fish. I just absolutely love them. So that is pretty much it. That is sort of a quick roundup of all my scapes at the minute, a quick tour, if you like, around the, well, what is actually the dining room. As I mentioned, there is going to be some new content. I will try my best, but the next video will probably be a rescape of the shallow. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great new year ahead, and I will see you on the next one.